Now on chapter 9 of book number 1, A Healing in Jesus' Name. Eric abruptly pulled away. Growling in frustration, he ran a hand through his hair and backed away. Breathing hard, he glanced at Ricky and looked into Shelley's eyes. He shook his head. I'm sorry, he sighed. I need a moment. He then turned toward the hotel. Shaking his head, he walked briskly up the beach. He threw his hand in the air and called to Ricky, his voice thick with the emotion of defeat. Ricky, please take Shelley up to her room. Shelley sat dumbfounded on the end of the table. Ricky came slowly to her. She looked into his face, her bewilderment evident. He kissed me. I know, Ricky said with a smile. I wonder what that means, she mumbled. Ricky shrugged. Oh, you got to figure that one out. He pulled her up and put his arm companionably around her shoulders and walked her up the beach. I guess I messed up, huh? She asked the question so pensively that Ricky couldn't believe it was the same woman who'd spoken to his father so fiercely just a few moments ago. No, Ricky answered, I think you did good. Real good. He dropped Shelley off at her room. Are you sure you're all right? I'm fine, she said listlessly. Well, anyway, we still have to eat, so get a shower, and we'll be back for you in a little while. And Shelley, chin up. He'll probably apologize all over himself during breakfast. Ricky entered the room he shared with his father to find him just coming out of the shower. Eric didn't speak. Respecting his privacy, Ricky said nothing and went straight to the bathroom. He emerged a brief time later to find his father dressed and gazing out the patio doors that overlooked the ocean. Eric shifted his gaze to his son. I guess I messed up, huh? Recognizing the exact same words Shelley had used, Ricky only smiled as he finished dressing. I should apologize to her, Eric continued. Oh, you want me to make myself scarce? Ricky asked. No, that's okay. I yelled at her in public. I guess I should apologize in public. Ricky shrugged. Whatever you say. He paused to choose his words carefully. You know, Dad, it took a lot of guts for her to stand up to you like that. Eric nodded and spoke quietly. Think about it, Rick. She didn't just stand up to me. She rushed in to help that girl, going against every survival instinct she had. Everything she did took guts. Everything she said was true and logical. Everything about her is amazing. Eric shook his head in disgust. And I broke my own rule. Ricky chuckled. If the rule you're talking about is that student-teacher thing, you won't get any sympathy from me. Eric sighed. You know, wanting to uphold a student-teacher relationship isn't out of a moral code. It's simply what I need to do in order to properly prepare her for the mart, and I hope I haven't completely screwed things up. Well, what's done is done, Dad. At the risk of great peril to myself, let me tell you about a rationale I used when I was little and you told me I couldn't go swimming. It goes like this. If you accidentally fall in and get wet, you may as well swim around a while. You're going to be in trouble anyway. There was silence for several seconds, and then Eric chuckled. I guess that explains finding wet clothes under your bed. Eric looked back out the glass door. So he fell in. Should he swim or get right back out? He didn't know. He only knew he had to apologize. Okay, well, Dad, are you ready to face the music? Why the rush? Are you hungry? How'd you guess? Let's go, Eric said as he drew a fearful breath. Ricky smiled. He'd seen his father face all kinds of dangers fearlessly, yet this small woman could make him tremble. New scene. Shelley stood under the shower spray, going over events in her head. What in the world happened this morning? Eric was furious at her one moment, kissing her the next. She sighed, remembering his mouth on hers. The kiss had done things to her insides. He'd been sweaty and sandy and smelled so very male. The touch of his calloused hands on her face sent liquid fire through her. Admittedly, over the past weeks, she'd wondered what it would be like to have him kiss her. As close as they'd been working, any female would have thought about that, wouldn't they? She had confessed to Ricky at dinner last night that she was in love with Eric. Nevertheless, did she want the complication of a relationship? Many times over the past 2 years, she'd said she hated men. She knew that wasn't fair. She certainly didn't want herself to be judged by the actions of other women. She never really meant it when she said it. It was just her way of keeping herself emotionally distant. That is, until Eric came along. There was a time she thought of a relationship with another man was impossible. She thought she'd never actually feel love or desire again, not since the attack and the divorce. Yet here they were, love and desire. So what should she do? Whatever was between them was too valuable to toss away just because she didn't feel ready. She certainly hadn't been ready to fight this morning, but she knew it had been the right decision. Eric's kiss had meant that he has feelings too, just as she does. She hadn't been searching for someone to love just yet. She'd been searching for her own strength. She didn't even want to love him, yet she knew one thing. An opportunity to taste real love lay right in front of her. She'd never had any relationship except the one with her ex, and she needed to know true love, mature love, not the love of a little girl. She couldn't just let this opportunity pass her by. New scene. Eric and Ricky came to Shelley's door together. She answered, wearing a white terry cloth robe, her hair hanging in wet tendrils. Shelley smiled and held her hand up to stop Eric before he could even open his mouth to speak. "I'm sorry I'm not dressed yet. I've been thinking, and I have 2 questions," she began, one for each of you. First, Ricky, would you mind eating breakfast alone? Ricky pretended to be sad and muttered something about managing somehow. "And Eric," she said softly, "do I—" She stopped. She almost chickened out. I mean, well, that kiss. Do I only get one?" It took a second or two for her words to reach him, and when they did, his heart leapt. It was an invitation, an exquisite invitation. He couldn't turn it down. He'd fallen in the pool and would, as Ricky put it, swim around. He moved forward through the threshold and took Shelley in his arms, mentally taking the rule he'd been struggling with and tossing it out an imaginary window. The relief was immediate. He tilted her face up and lowered his mouth to hers. He kissed her slowly and softly and sweetly. And without relinquishing the kiss, he gave a swift back kick, slamming the door on a grinning Ricky. New scene. Eric kissed Shelley several more times before he made himself stop. He led her across the room to sit on a chair and then rose, keeping his eyes on her. "I need to tell you something." She smiled. "If you're going to call me stupid again, I really couldn't deal with that right now." "Shelley, I'm sorry about that. I don't think you're stupid, and I was just so upset that you were hurt. It made me crazy." "Let's see," she said sarcastically. "You couldn't stand me being hurt, so instead you hurt me with words?" "I know, it doesn't make sense, does it? I was wrong, and I apologize. Please forgive me. Really, I think I was upset more with myself, and I took it out on you." "With yourself? Why?" "Or for leaving you there, for not being there when you needed me." "Well, that's silly, Eric. You can't be with me all the time." He sighed. "I shouldn't have left you." He gazed at her. Her hair was wet, and she had apparently just gotten out of the shower, which probably meant she had nothing on under the robe. It was not a good situation for a gentleman. He swallowed hard and drew in a sharp breath. I need to tell you something, Shelley." Her huge brown eyes blinked up at him, waiting. He blew out a breath. I'll just come out with it. "I've fallen in love with you. I know I'm not supposed to feel this way about a student. I've tried to fight it. I've tried even to deny it. Yet how can I teach you to be honest without being honest myself? I love you. Oh, Eric, she sighed, standing and reaching for him. He went to her immediately. She rose up onto her toes, and their mouths melded. There was so much heat. Eric broke away, backing up far enough to get control. He was in a situation that was not conducive to being in control. He needed to remove himself from the situation before he did something he regretted. The anticipation of finally being able to free his pent-up emotions and allow himself to give her all the love he felt was overpowering. But special things are reserved for the marriage covenant. Besides, this relationship was new. Shelley was suffering from past trauma, and his beliefs did not include casual sex outside of marriage. He cleared his throat. So, I'd better go and let you get dressed. She nodded. He came close again. Gently, he took her hands in his. Your hands are trembling. She winced. Oh, it's just that, well, I've only been in one relationship with my ex-husband, and that was a very long time ago. I know it sounds silly, but I'm not sure what to do anymore. Eric rubbed the back of his hand against her cheek. Well, it's been a long time for me as well. We'll work our way through this together. He couldn't help himself. He bent down and kissed her again, pulling her close against him, and the fire burned hot within him, forcing him to end the kiss and step back abruptly. Is something wrong? He shook his head. No, he sighed. Let me be honest. There's nothing I'd like more right now than to make love to you. I feel the same way. He almost shuddered with the desire that statement brought. He drew a deep breath. But I don't want to ruin this new relationship by rushing into things. It wouldn't be good for either of us, and I have personal values that I'd like to think I'm in control enough to keep. He smiled. Why don't you get dressed, and I'll order some room service, and we'll eat and talk. Oh, I'd love that, she whispered. And with that, he moved forward quickly, pressed one more kiss on her lips, and turned and left the room. New scene. Shelley sighed and wiggled up against Eric as they cuddled on the sofa. This must be how an unborn child feels, she thought, floating in his mother's womb, warm and happy and contented and loved. Loved. What a wonderful feeling to feel loved and safe and secure. She hadn't felt this feeling with her ex even during the time that Mark and Joey had been conceived. Sighing, Shelley snuggled closer and looked up into his smiling face, but his smile quickly faded. What? She asked. Your lip is swelling. He shook his head as he touched her cheek. I don't know what it is about you that makes me so crazy protective. I haven't lost my temper like I did today in a very long time. Those boys, they were just kids. But when I saw the way they hurt you, I wanted to hurt them. But you didn't. You looked to me like you were in perfect control. Shelley sighed. I'd love to know how to fight like that. You were so good. Oh, I hardly think beating up some little teenager is good. He was quiet for a moment and then heaved a sigh. It's over. Let's forget it. Well, I won't likely forget it any time soon, because in a way that little incident is what brought you and I together today. That little incident also just put us behind another day in your training. He smiled. Yet, somehow, I can't find a way to complain about that just now. Eric? He answered, allowing his finger to trace the shape of her cheek. What's a MILF? His hand stopped. Oh, where did you hear that? That's what one of those boys called me. Eric chuckled. What's so funny? Well, it's not really funny, but I can't seem to help myself. It's actually a compliment in a crude, degrading sort of way. Well, what does it mean? You really don't know? No. Oh, you don't want to know? Yes, I do. Please tell me. Okay, if you say so. He leaned over and whispered in her ear. Shelley's face reddened. Oh, Eric laughed. Well, you are incredibly pretty. Really? Yeah, really. He tilted her face up and kissed her softly and then lifted her fingertips to his lips and kissed each one. He made her feel so cherished. How could this steely martial artist be so completely gentle? Eric smiled at her, but his expression changed quickly. This beautiful time was amazing, however, it was only making things harder for him, because he wanted her badly, but he wanted her the right way and for the right reasons and in the right order. A real relationship was about much more than sex. It was obvious it was obvious to him that Shelley didn't know much about God. She told him as much a few times in the course of conversation, though that too was a part of his mission to teach her about Jesus. This relationship with Shelley was even more complex because he was her teacher, her MART instructor, and they had goals and commitments to fulfill. He needed to make her understand. Shelley, he began, his tone shifting, and she placed a finger to his lips. Uh-oh. I know that tone, and I bet I know exactly what you're about to say. Oh, really? He chuckled. What am I about to say then? How about, Shelley, we simply cannot let this interfere with what we're trying to accomplish. Training must continue if we are to succeed. Self-discipline is the key. How's that? Eric smiled. Well, that about covers it. Still, Shelley, I don't think you realize how difficult it's going to be. You mean the training? She asked. No, I mean keeping our feelings for one another separate. If you really and truly desire to fight in the mart, then I will train you. I'm just saying that having a relationship will make it much harder. During training hours, we have to stick to a strict student-teacher relationship. I have to feel free to teach without hurting your feelings. Well, you haven't hurt my feelings so far, she said flippantly. Well, we've barely begun. Eric, I really do understand, and I will not let our relationship interfere with the mart, because I really and truly want to compete in the mart more than anything. Eric watched her. Earlier, he'd said he loved her, but she hadn't responded, at least not verbally. He wondered exactly what her feelings were. He'd made himself vulnerable by declaring his love, and he was certainly strong enough to handle that. Still, it would be nice to know what she thought, what she felt. His pondering was interrupted by a knock on the door. Oh, I bet I know who that is, Shelley said as she rose. She opened the door to a large tray of food and a pitcher of iced tea sitting on the floor, and setting the tray on the bed, she read the accompanying note. Dear Dad and Shelley, did I miss anything? I thought you might get hungry if you ever came up for air, so bon appetit. Sorry about the French, Shelley. Don't worry about me. I have a date, whom you will get to meet when you arrive at the Seafood Inn at 7 for dinner. See you tonight, Ricky. Shelley laughed. Ricky is so silly. He's a great kid. He's an awesome kid, Eric agreed. Eyeing the tray, Shelley realized she was famished, and between the two of them, they made short work of the club sandwiches and fruits and cake that Ricky sent. They spent the rest of the afternoon talking and laughing the time away. The time to dress and meet Ricky arrived too soon, and reluctantly they emerged from the hotel to find the Seafood Inn. Shelley must have eaten 100 meals with Eric already, but this time everything seemed different. He reached silently across the table and took her hand, and a current shot through them, a vibration fed by their newfound love. They looked up to see Ricky arrive with a beautiful young girl standing beside him. Bethany, I'd like you to meet my father and one of his students, Shelley Adams. Eric smiled, because Shelley was suddenly so much more than merely one of his students. He still wasn't sure how he was going to handle that. He'd have to take it one day at a time. The foursome spent a delightful evening together. 19-year-old Bethany was from Nashville and vacationing with a couple of friends who'd been quite jealous when the Ricky Keno asked her to dinner. Shelley was glad when, after dinner, Ricky dropped Bethany off at her motel and came right back. After all, 19 was practically a baby. Shelley didn't know that Ricky adhered to the same standards as his father. Back at the hotel, Ricky went straight to his and Eric's room, while Eric walked Shelley to her door. You're not coming in?" she asked. He shook his head. "No. Your training resumes at 7 a.m., and we need to get some sleep." Shelley pouted and made the cutest puppy dog face. Her childlikeness always got to Eric. He tried to be strong. Shelley, remember we made a promise to not break training? Remember how we were supposed to train today? As your teacher, I just really cannot let the lack of discipline continue. It won't continue, she promised. You could just come in and help me stretch. Kiss me goodnight. After that, I promise I'll go straight to bed. Ricky opened his door. How could you turn that down? He closed the door quickly. Eric rolled his eyes and turned back to Shelley. Okay, you win. Get changed. I'll be right back. We'll stretch, and then you have to keep your promise. He unlocked her door for her and took the card with him, shaking his head with a sigh. What did they think he was? Some paragon of virtue? Heck, he was a man, and apparently a weak one. Delighted, Shelley quickly changed into some yoga-type pants and t-shirt and ran into the bathroom to brush her teeth. She was acting like a schoolgirl. She knew that, but she couldn't help the nervous energy that was coursing through her. And now that she knew Eric loved her, the thought of spending more time with him was exciting, and being away from him seemed unbearable. Staring into the bathroom mirror, she let her hair down and tackled the chore of brushing it. She hadn't made much progress when Eric walked through the door. He wore a brown silk, traditional Chinese kung fu uniform. Oh, Eric, that's beautiful, she breathed. Here then, he offered cheerfully, I'll give you half. He took off the top portion and placed it around her shoulders. He looked her over and sighed. Her hair, falling loosely across her shoulders, made him realize that keeping his hands off her wasn't going to be easy. Let's get to it, he said firmly. Shelley made a face. I have to finish brushing my hair. Well, let me, he offered, taking up the brush. Slowly, reverently, he pulled the brush through the long, golden-brown tresses. Once he'd completed the task, he breathed a deep sigh. His voice husky, he ordered her again to begin the stretching routine. Obediently, she stood beside him in the center of the floor and followed his lead. He'd taken off his silk jacket and given it to her, which left him bare-chested, and it was hard to keep her eyes off his sculpted, rock-hard body. He didn't seem to notice her trouble. They finished stretching, and Eric took her hands. Okay, it's bedtime. I should be going. Shelley pouted again. Please, Shelley, he said softly, don't make this difficult. He pressed his lips against her forehead. Good night. In his own room, Eric stepped out onto the balcony and drew deep breaths of the ocean air. He needed to clear his mind and transform his energy. Nothing that some prayer and meditation couldn't help. Eric eyes closed in prayer, he rededicated himself to God as he listened to the rhythm of the waves crashing on the sand. New scene. Shelley hit the mat. Take it easy, Rick, Eric ordered, eyeing him sternly. Ricky raised an eyebrow. Sorry. 5 minutes later, Ricky's foot connected with Shelley's swollen lip, and Ricky looked at his father and shrugged. Eric knew that Ricky was practically moving in slow motion, giving Shelley as much warning as possible as to what's coming. He was not pleased. He hadn't been pleased all week. Shelley's first tournament was 24 hours away, and she hadn't progressed as well as he thought she would, with Ricky as her sparring partner. As a matter of fact, she seemed to be getting steadily worse. Her weakness from the beginning, other than her fear of contact, had been her reaction time. Not reacting to what came at her would definitely get her defeated in a tournament world, dead in the real world. Well, it's now or never, Eric thought. Here goes. What's the problem, Shelley? I don't know, she answered softly. Are you ill? No. Well, let's go again, Ricky, but this time I want you to talk to her. Tell her what's coming. Again, in only a few seconds, Ricky had been able to strike Shelley several times. Okay, Shelley, dig deep and tell me what's happening. I don't know. What do you mean, I don't know? Think about it and tell me, Eric sternly demanded. What is the problem? She looked at him defiantly. I don't know what the problem is. You're the teacher. You tell me, she snapped. He let the challenge slide. You do know. You just won't admit it. Now think. Come on, talk to me. What are you feeling? She shrugged. I guess I can't tell where the strike is coming from. Why can't you tell? We've practiced for hours upon hours all the sparring moves over and over. We've done them until they should be instinctive to you. Your conscious brain may not recall, but your body remembers. It's muscle memory. He punched at her, and she correctly blocked and countered. See, he said, you do know. So what is it? Are you afraid of Ricky? No, I don't think so, she said timidly. Eric swung at her, softly slapping her cheek. Block, he commanded. I can't, she answered, raising her hand to her reddened cheek. Why not? He swung at her again, lightly striking the other cheek. Stop, she said, frowning as she backed away from him. Not until you answer the question. He swept her leg, and she fell to the mat. Ricky stepped aside and leaned back against the wall, grimacing. There had been many times that he'd suffer through similarly painful scenarios at his father's hands. However, the pain came not from the physical contact, but from being forced to reach inside oneself and figure out where the weakness lies. This was what his father was good at. This is what set him apart from the other teachers. It was for this ability his father had pursued his doctorate in psychology. Ricky stood back and watched his father in action. Shelley raised herself off the mat and faced Eric. He swung at her head, and she blocked it well, but never saw the other hand coming, and he caught her again in her sore mouth. She raised her hand to her mouth and then yelled at him. I don't know! You do know, he countered calmly. You're afraid of something. What is it? He asked as he cleanly knocked her to the floor again. She stood to face him once more, this time her eyes glistening. I guess... She stopped. I guess what? He demanded. I guess I'm afraid of being hurt. He shook his head. I do not accept that answer. He placed a roundhouse kick neatly to her side. Because if you were afraid of being hurt, you'd block the punches. You'd block the kicks. Or at the very least, you'd try to get out of the way. So what is it you're afraid of? He demanded again, as for the third time he knocked her to the floor. This time she remained on her knees, the tears now flowing freely down her cheeks. Ricky couldn't help but feel a little sorry for her, even though he knew in the long run it was for her own good. I'm afraid of... She stopped. She didn't know what to say, yet she knew she had to find something. Her mind scrambled to think, what is she afraid of? He's right, it isn't fear of getting hurt, so what is it? Afraid of what? Eric asked abruptly. Figure it out. We'll stay right here until you do, because I'm not giving up. She sighed. I'm afraid of... She stopped again. Say it, he urged softly. I'm afraid of, maybe, of not being able to learn it all. Her eyes opened wide as she realized she may have stumbled across at least part of the answer. Eric nodded. Go on. Or maybe I'm afraid of, I guess, of losing. And I don't want to lose because I don't want to disappoint you. She looked up into his eyes. I really don't, she sniffed. Having apparently acquired what he wanted, Eric knelt down in front of her, gathered her in his arms, and tilted her face up to his. Listen to me carefully. I've taught a lot of people, so you'll have to just trust me when I say you will eventually learn what you need to learn, what you need to know. Not in 5 weeks, but eventually. And Shelley, as far as the tournament goes, this one tomorrow or the Mart, even if we lose, we win. As a tournament is a learning tool, and that is all it is, nothing more. And now about disappointing me. As long as you discipline yourself and work hard and try your very best without giving up, then I'll never be disappointed. Ricky smiled. How many times had he heard that speech? Eric didn't give Shelley long to feel sorry for herself. Now, go wash your face, get a drink of water, and get back here. He helped her to her feet, and she walked away, head down. He leaned back against the wall next to Ricky and heaved a weary sigh. Ricky patted him on the shoulder. I don't know how you do it, Dad, or how you even know what to do. I just know you do it well. Eric shook his head. It's too hard. Too hard to love someone you're trying to teach. Ricky pondered that, his brow furrowed. Well, Dad, you taught me, he countered. Oh, this is a different situation, 'cause she's vulnerable. You weren't. You knew you were loved and cherished. You've never known anything else. She knows how it feels to be frightened and alone with no one to care. Do you know that her family pretty much disowned her when she became pregnant as a young teenager? Even once she had even once she had the baby, they had nothing to do with her. Wow, they didn't even come to see their grandchild? Eric shook his head. It's hard to imagine, huh? She told me her parents came to the house one time after Bree was born. Once. And they've never even seen the boys. She had only her husband to depend on, and that didn't work out too well. She's been on her own for a long time. He sighed. Maybe I'm the problem. If I'm weak, she can't be strong. It's difficult to do what I need to for Shelley when my heart goes out to her. Ricky shrugged. Well, I don't see what you just did as being weak. I waited all week to do it, didn't I? I put it off as long as possible. And then when it was over, what did I do? I comforted her and babied her. When I feel sorry for her, I'm giving energy to the problem. The past is the past. It's in the past. And if I'm to help her let go of all the bad stuff, I have to let go of it too. This whole situation is going to be rough at best. Rough? Ricky growled like a caveman. We can handle rough. Arr! Eric chuckled. It seemed like he could always depend on Ricky to make him smile. Shelley returned, and the three of them worked hard. She made slow but sure progress, and by the end of the day, her response time had slightly improved. Eric praised her for the improvement, but Shelley's mood was dour. Eric realized he needed to help her clear her mind before the tournament. Ricky, take a break. Shelley and I need to talk. Shelley watched Ricky take his leave and then turned slowly to look at Eric. What do we need to talk about? Eric noted the dread in her voice. I think we'd better talk about what happened earlier today. Do you have any thoughts or comments you'd like to share? She gazed at him as she thought. She truly didn't know what to say. She wondered if she should tell him so. After all, the last time she'd said she didn't know something, he'd practically beat it out of her. Well, that wasn't exactly fair, because he'd been teaching. She knew that. He patted a table in the corner of the room, and she sat, and he stood in front of her at eye level. Listen, I know I was hard on you. I had to take advantage of a learning situation, but I can tell you're upset. Well, I'm not complaining. No, you're not. And maybe that's the problem. You're not anything. No smiles, no frowns, no temper, no emotion, nothing. Come on, Shelley, talk to me. She thought a moment. Well, she explained, how if you turn off your feelings, it seems you can function better. Nothing gets in the way. You stay consistent, no ups and downs. Eric's lips pressed tightly together as he digested what she was saying. So, me being so hard on you, that's what made you decide this? She sighed and shrugged. So did I hurt your feelings so badly that now you think you'd rather not feel anything at all? Shelley hadn't known why she was feeling the way she was, but now that Eric said it, she realized maybe it was because her feelings were hurt. Maybe, she answered him, feeling a bit ashamed, as she knew he'd been functioning as an instructor and not as her new boyfriend. She'd told him there would be no problem separating their personal feelings, yet she already had them all mixed up. He smiled. It won't work, It won't? You can't be a robot. You're a human being. You have emotions. You have feelings. They're essential to life. With them, yes, you feel pain and sorrow, but you also experience love and joy. You won't be happier by shutting out the world. People are always trying to avoid pain, and right now I'm talking about emotional pain. We will go to great lengths to shut out that pain, but it's impossible. The pain will find us. If we don't address it now, it will manifest later. So rather than avoid it, though you may not believe me, it's better to experience it. You have to feel it deeply completely. Feel the anguish, feel the heartbreak, feel the remorse. Allow yourself to feel it and accept it, and then, and only then, can we move past it enough for it to fade. So that means we don't turn off our emotions. We embrace them. And believe me, without emotion, you certainly won't be a better fighter. Letting out a heavy sigh, Shelley lay back on the table with her arm across her forehead. He came around to the end of the table and moved her arm off her face and peered down at her. And if you think for one moment that you can do away with your emotions and I'll let you just shut me out of your heart, then I'm afraid you're gravely mistaken. She looked up at the man who'd come to mean so much to her. He touched her nose. So what do you have to say about that? She spoke quietly. I've fallen in love with you, Eric. I love you. I don't want to, but I do. You are everything I never thought a man could be. You're kind, you listen, you're patient, you're understanding. You have a calmness about you and a strength I can depend on, and I love you. His eyes closed briefly to relish the feeling. He was happy she admitted to loving him, not so happy about the part where she doesn't want to love him. Still, those were her honest feelings, and she trusted him with them. That was an honor. He'd have to help her sort through the tangle of emotions over the coming year. For now, she'd declared her love, and that deserved a kiss. Lowering his head, he kissed her mouth softly. He'd only meant to steal the one kiss, but she welcomed him, and he couldn't stop. He kissed her again and again like a man so thirsty he couldn't get enough cool, sweet water. He raised up, stepped back, and drew a deep breath. His hands ached to touch her, and he could tell she certainly wouldn't stop him from doing so. Nevertheless, his respect for her would show his love 1,000 times more than taking advantage of the moment. He bent down once more to give her a soft, parting kiss. It's getting a little warm in here, don't you think? Ricky said with a smile from the doorway, and they jerked apart. Ricky, as always, your timing is impeccable, Eric said dryly. And yours stinks. Now, can we get back to work? Actually, no. We're at the point that whatever will be, will be. It's time to nourish the body and rejuvenate the spirit. 1 Corinthians 10:13. No temptation has overtaken you that is not common to man. God is faithful, and he will not let you be tempted beyond your ability, but with the temptation he will also provide the way of escape, that you may be able to endure it. And that is the end of chapter 9.